Okay, this video will walk through how to use this Tableau prep flow to generate a data source that can be used in a Tableau desktop template to create a chord diagram. So all of the steps in here are based on a blog post by Luke Stanky where he was creating his data source using R for all the calculations. So I've essentially tried to replicate those steps using Tableau prep here. And I've tried to make this as simple as possible so that you can feed into this Tableau prep flow a matrix in Excel. And this is the dummy data source that I'm using here. So we can see on the left the dimensions where data is coming from, and along the top is where data is going to. So that's kind of the flow of data that we want to represent in the chord diagram. And you can see the dummy data does have some zero values and a few null values as well. And the data that we're going to swap this over to is this real data, which is from the World Bank, which is representing migration flows within EU countries as of 2017. And there's 28 countries there, and that number will be relevant later on. Okay, so let's go back to the flow here, and we're going to bring in the data source that I want to swap in. So I've got the Excel spreadsheet here, so I'm going to drop that into the flow. Okay, and then I need to swap these two data sources out. So on the old one, I'm just going to right click and remove. I'll move the new one up here, and then I'll click on the right here, and then just drop this on add, and that will connect those two steps up. And then I need to reconfigure the pivot step, which is next, because it's looking for the old values which no longer exist. So it's going to highlight all of these, let's drag these out. I need to add in all of the new values, so that's all of the countries, and just excluding this word dimension here, which I'll show you where that comes from in a second. So it's going to click to highlight everything, scroll up here, and then control click to remove that dimension one, and then drop them into this pivoted fields area. So we just have dimension on the left and all the countries on the right. So let me just show you where this dimension value comes from. And that is in the top left cell A1 here in the spreadsheet. So whichever data source you use, just make sure that you do have dimension in the top left, because that is going to be referenced in the prep flow. Okay, so there's only one more thing to do here, and that is change the name of the output. So I'm just going to scroll over to the right, click on the output step, and then change the name from this template prep output to something else. So click the browse button, and I'm going to call it EU migration output. Okay, click accept, and it's going to overwrite. That's fine, and then we click run flow. Take a few seconds, and that is the output created. The next video we'll look at how we swap out the data source in the Tableau desktop workbook to use this new data source that we've created here using Tableau prep.